The great hall of Velar Prime was made of living crystal. The walls shifted colors like oil on water. The ceiling rose so high that clouds formed near the top. It was meant to make visitors feel small. It worked. Admiral Jinho Park stood at the center of the hall. Behind him, 42 humans waited in silence. They were diplomats, officers, and scientists. The best Earth had to offer. They had come here believing in peace. They had come here as friends. 12 species sat on the raised platforms around them. These were the rulers of the Galactic Covenant. They controlled everything worth controlling in 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Trade routes, mining rights, technology, law for 10,000 years. They had decided who lived well and who suffered. Earth had joined the Covenant 43 years ago. Humans had been so proud that day, so hopeful. They thought they had finally earned their place among the stars. They thought wrong. High Arbiter Moleth rose from his seat. He was a Valorian, an insectoid creature standing 3 meters tall. His body was covered in hard black plates. His eyes were compound orbs that showed no feeling. When he spoke, his mandibles clicked together like scissors. "The charges against Earth are clear," Moleth said. His voice echoed through the crystal hall. "Your species has developed faster than light weapons. This technology is forbidden to junior members of the Covenant. You have broken our most sacred law." Jinho did not move. He had seen the so-called evidence. Blurry images. Fake reports. Documents that any child could see were forgeries. The charges were lies. Everyone in this room knew they were lies, but truth did not matter here. Power mattered. Ambassador Una Troy stepped forward. She was 51 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and eyes that had seen too many broken promises. She had spent 30 years building bridges between Earth and the Covenant. She had believed in this alliance. "High Arbiter," Una said. Her voice was calm but firm. "We request the right to examine this evidence. We request the right to defend ourselves. These are rights guaranteed by Covenant law." Moleth's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Those rights apply to member species. As of this moment, Earth is no longer a member." A murmur ran through the human delegation. Jinho raised his hand and they fell silent. "You have already decided," Jinho said. "It was not a question. The council voted this morning," Moleth replied. "The decision was unanimous. Earth is hereby expelled from the Galactic Covenant. All human vessels beyond the Sol system will be seized. All human colonies will be surrendered to Covenant control. You will return to your homeworld and you will remain there." Jinho felt the words hit him like physical blows. 43 years of work? Millions of humans living on colony worlds, families, children, futures, all of it, gone in a single sentence. "And the humans on those colonies?" Una asked. "What happens to them?" "They will be relocated to Earth," Moleth said. "Eventually." "Eventually?" The word hung in the air like poison. Everyone knew what it meant. The colonies would be stripped first. The resources taken. The technology claimed. The people would be last priority. Many would not survive the wait. A young officer behind Jinho made a sound of anger. Jinho silenced him with a look. This was not the place for rage. "Not yet. What if we refuse?" Una asked. Her voice had not changed, but something in her eyes had turned to steel. Moleth leaned forward. His compound eyes reflected Una's face 1,000 times. "Then you will be erased," he said. "Your ships will be destroyed. Your world will be blockaded. Your people will starve. In 100 years, no one will remember that humans ever existed. This is not a negotiation, Ambassador. This is a notification." Silence filled the hall. The other 11 species watched from their platforms. Some looked uncomfortable. Most did not. They had seen this before. Junior species rose too fast, asked too many questions, threatened the old order. They had to be put down. It was simply how things worked. Jinho looked at Una. She looked back. In that moment, they understood each other perfectly. Jinho turned to face Moleth. He was 63 years old. He had served Earth his entire adult life. He had believed that patience and diplomacy would earn humanity its place in the galaxy. He had been a fool. "We understand," Gino said. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the crystal hall. "We will return to Earth. We will comply with your demands." Molluth's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. A wise choice. Jinho was not finished. He took one step forward, and when he spoke again, his voice was different, harder, colder. "But understand this, High Arbiter. We will remember what happened here today. We will remember the lies you told. We will remember the worlds you stole. We will remember every family you tore apart." He paused. "And one day you will remember us." The hall went silent. Even Molluth seemed uncertain for a moment. Then the moment passed. The Valorian waved one clawed hand in dismissal. "Escort the humans to their vessel. They have 12 hours to leave Covenant space." Guards appeared around the delegation. Jinho did not resist. He simply turned and walked toward the exit, his people following behind him. As they left the hall, Yuna walked beside him. "What do we do now?" she asked quietly. Jinho did not answer until they reached their ship. Only when the airlock closed behind them did he speak. "Now we become what they are afraid we might be." He opened a secure channel to Earth Command. The signal was encrypted with codes that no Covenant technology could break. "This is Admiral Park. Begin Protocol Sunrise. Authorization code, remember." On the other end of the channel, a single word came back. "Confirmed." The human vessel broke orbit and headed for the edge of the system. Behind them, the crystal towers of Velar Prime gleamed in the starlight. The Covenant believed they had won. They had no idea what they had just started. 20 years passed. The galaxy forgot about Earth. The Covenant kept watch at first. Patrol fleets circled the Sol system like sharks around wounded prey. They scanned every signal, tracked every ship, waited for any sign of rebellion. But the humans did nothing. Their communications were boring. Their ships were old. Their world seemed broken. After 5 years, the patrols grew smaller. After 10 years, they became routine. After 15 years, most Covenant officials stopped paying attention entirely. Earth was no longer a threat. Earth was a prison that guarded itself. They could not have been more wrong. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a facility that did not exist on any map, Director Sunwoo Beek watched a wall of screens. Each screen showed a different project. A new engine design. A prototype weapon. A ship hull being tested. Thousands of scientists and engineers worked around the clock in dozens of secret locations. None of them knew the full picture. Only Sunwoo did. He was 62 years old now. His hair had turned white from stress and sleepless nights. But his mind was sharper than ever. "Report," he said to his assistant, a young woman named Jiwan. Jiwan pulled up a holographic display. "Project Thunder is ahead of schedule. The new reactor design passed all tests. We can power a battleship for 50 years without refueling." Sunwoo nodded. "And the weapons?" "Project Lightning completed Phase 3. The beam can cut through Covenant shields like paper." Jiwan hesitated. "Director, are you sure about this?" "If the Covenant finds out?" "They will not find out," Sunwoo said. "They stopped looking years ago. They think we are beaten. They think we are weak." He turned to face her. "That is our greatest weapon. Let them believe the lie while we build the truth." On Europa, Jupiter's ice moon, Captain Hana Lee walked through a cavern that should not exist. The cavern was 2 kilometers wide and half a kilometer tall. It had been carved from the ice over 15 years. Piece by piece, in complete secrecy inside the cavern, the first ship of the new human fleet was taking shape. The HSS Defiance was unlike anything humans had ever built. It was 300 meters long, angular, and sharp like a blade. Its hull was made from an alloy that humans had invented themselves, stronger than anything the Covenant possessed. Its weapons were hidden behind panels that looked like ordinary hull plating. Its engines could push it faster than any ship in the galaxy. Commander Taiwu Shin stood beside Hana. He was a quiet man, but his eyes missed nothing. "She is beautiful," Taiwu said. Hana smiled. She is death. Covenant death. When she flies, the galaxy will tremble. How many more can we build? Taiwo asked. Hannah gestured to the far end of the cavern. There, in the shadows, more scaffolding was being assembled. More hulls were taking shape. As many as we need, she said. We have 12 shipyards now: Europa, Titan, Ceres, bases hidden in asteroids, stations buried under the ice of distant moons. The Covenant watches Earth. They do not watch our rocks. She turned to Taiwo. In 5 years, we will have over 100 ships, each one worth 10 of theirs, and they will never see us coming. On Earth, in an underground bunker beneath the old city of Seoul, the Global Defense Council held its monthly meeting. Leaders from every nation sat around a circular table. They had put aside their old conflicts long ago. When you face extinction, borders stop. Mattaring. President Do Yun Kang stood at the head of the table. He was the third president since the exile began. The first had started Protocol Sunrise. The second had expanded it. Do Yun's job was to finish it. 20 years, he said. For 20 years we have hidden. We have worked. We have sacrificed. Our people have lived without luxury, without waste, so that every resource could go toward one goal. He pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed the Sol system filled with green dots. Each dot was a secret base, a hidden shipyard, a weapons factory. 112 warships, Do Yun continued. 50,000 fighters. Weapons that can crack planets. Shields that can stop stars. An army of 2 million trained soldiers. The council members stared at the display. They had known the numbers, but seeing them like this still took their breath away. The Covenant thought they were punishing us, Do Yun said. They thought exile would break us. Instead, they gave us something precious. They gave us time. Time to prepare. Time to grow strong. Time to become something they cannot imagine. He deactivated the display. In 5 months, the countdown ends. In 5 months, we show the galaxy what humanity has become. Not a species begging for scraps. Not children waiting for permission. His voice rose. An empire. Born in silence. Forged in secret. Ready to claim its place among the stars. The council rose to their feet. No one spoke. No one needed to dot in her quarters on Europa. Hana Lee received the notification. Phase 2 was approaching. Soon the hiding would end. Soon the silence would break. She walked to her window and looked out at the ice. Beyond it, Jupiter hung in the sky like a giant eye. Beyond that, the Covenant waited, fat and lazy and certain of their power. They had no idea what was coming. Hannah thought about her parents. They had lived on a colony world called New Hope. When the exile came, the Covenant had taken everything. Her parents had died waiting for transport back to Earth, 2 old people, abandoned on a frozen rock. Because the Covenant did not care about human lives, Hannah had been 16 years old. Now she was 41. She had spent half her life preparing for this moment. Half her life waiting for revenge. Soon, she whispered to the ice. Soon we remember. And soon you pay. Across the Sol system, millions of humans shared that thought. Engineers and soldiers, scientists and pilots, farmers who had grown food for the war effort, teachers who had trained the next generation to fight. They had been patient. They had been silent. They had been invisible, but now the waiting was almost over. In 5 months, the galaxy would learn a simple truth. Humans did not break. Humans did not forget. And humans never, ever stopped fighting for their future. The countdown continued. The ships waited in the shadows. And somewhere in the darkness, Protocol Sunrise moved toward its final phase. The Covenant patrol fleet had been orbiting Neptune for 6 years. Commander Vrex of the Malathi species considered it the most boring assignment in the galaxy. Nothing ever happened here. Humans were a dead species walking. Everyone knew that. Vrex was reviewing supply reports when his sensor officer made a strange sound. Commander, the officer said, I am detecting an energy signature from Europa. Europa? Vrex did not look up from his reports. The ice moon? Probably just volcanic activity. No, Commander. This is different. The signature is massive, and it is rising. Now Vrex looked up. He walked to the sensor station and studied the readings. The numbers made no sense. The energy output was larger than anything in the Covenant fleet. Larger than anything he had ever seen. What is that? He whispered. The answer came 30 seconds later. The ice of Europa cracked open. From the wound in the moon's surface, a ship emerged. It was black as space itself, angular and sharp, covered in weapons that glowed with strange light. It was bigger than any human vessel should be. It was bigger than any Covenant vessel. Then another ship emerged. And another. And another. Vrex watched with growing horror as ship after ship rose from Europa's hidden depths. They formed a line, then a formation, then a wall of metal and fire that blocked out the stars. How many? He asked. His voice was barely a whisper. 112 warships, Commander. Plus support vessels. The sensor officer's hands were shaking. Commander, they are hailing us. The main screen flickered to life. A human face appeared. An old man with white hair and cold eyes. He wore a simple black uniform with a single symbol on the chest. Earth, wrapped in stars. This is Admiral Jinho Park of the Human Empire, the old man said. To the Covenant vessels in our territory, you have 60 seconds to withdraw. After that, we will demonstrate what 20 years of exile has taught us. Vrex stared at the screen. The Human Empire? Humans did not have an empire. Humans barely had a civilization anymore, but those ships were real. Those weapons were real. And those 60 seconds were very, very real. Commander? His tactical officer asked. What do we do? Vrex thought about running. His ships were faster than those human vessels should be. Maybe they could escape. Maybe they could warn the Covenant, but running would mean admitting fear. It would mean admitting that these primitive humans had somehow built something that scared the mighty Covenant. His career would be over. His honor would be destroyed. All ships, attack formation, Vrex ordered. Target the lead vessel. Show these humans what real warships can do. The Covenant fleet moved forward. 12 cruisers. 36 fighters. Weapons powered and ready. They had destroyed species before. They would destroy this one too. They fired. The beams and missiles crossed the distance in seconds. They struck the human flagship. They hit the shields. Nothing happened. The weapons that had cracked planets and burned. Civilization simply vanished against the human shields. Not deflected. Not absorbed? Just gone. Vrex felt his blood turn cold. On the Defiance, Admiral Jinho Park watched the attack with no expression. The Covenant weapons were toys compared to human technology now. 20 years of innovation had left the galaxy far behind. Commander Minji, Jinho said calmly. Respond. Commander Minji Yoon sat at the tactical station. She was 34 years old. Her father had died on a colony world when she was a child. She had waited her whole life for this moment. With pleasure, Admiral. She pressed a single button. The Defiance's main weapon fired. It was not a beam or a missile. It was something new. Something human scientists had invented in their hidden labs. A focused burst of energy that existed in multiple dimensions at once. It passed through shields like they were not there. It hit the Covenant flagship directly. The ship did not explode. It simply came apart. Every molecule separated from every other molecule in an instant. One moment, a warship. The next moment, dust. The other human ships opened fire. The battle lasted 11 seconds. When it was over, nothing remained of the Covenant patrol fleet except expanding clouds of debris. 12 cruisers. 36 fighters, gone. Minji reported. All enemy vessels neutralized. No survivors. Jinho nodded slowly. There was no joy in his face. Only determination. Send word to Earth, he ordered. Phase 2 begins now. Across the Sol system, the message spread. In hidden bases and secret shipyards, millions of humans received the signal. The waiting was over. The silence was broken. Humanity was back. Within hours, the human fleet had secured the entire Sol system. Within days, They had crossed into Covenant space for the first time in 20 years. The first system they entered was Kepler-7, a mining colony, Covenant-owned. Worked by slave labor from 6 different species, Admiral Park broadcast his message on all frequencies. This is Admiral Jinno Park of the Human Empire. We are here to liberate this system. Covenant forces will surrender or be destroyed. To the workers of Kepler-7, you are no longer slaves. You are free. The Covenant garrison tried to fight. They lasted 4 minutes. The freed workers did not know what to do at first. They had been slaves for generations. Freedom was a word they had forgotten. Then a human shuttle landed in the main mining pit. The hatch opened and soldiers came out. But they did not carry weapons drawn. They carried food, medicine, blankets. A young officer named Jin-Ho Kim approached the workers. He had trained for this moment. He had practiced the words in a dozen alien languages. "We are humans," he said. "We were exiled. We were told we would be erased. Instead, we built a fleet. And now we have come to free everyone the Covenant has chained." An old worker from a species Jin-Ho did not recognize fell to his knees. He was crying. "They told us no one would come," the old worker said. "They told us we were forgotten." Jin-Ho knelt beside him. The Covenant forgot many things. They forgot that chains can be broken. They forgot that empires can fall. He helped the old worker stand. And they forgot that humans never give up. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. The humans had returned. The humans had weapons no one could match. The humans were freeing slaves and breaking chains wherever they went on Velar Prime. High Arbiter Moleth received the reports with growing terror. 47 systems in 3 months? 62 systems in 6 months? The human empire was growing faster than anyone could have imagined, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. He remembered the old human admiral's words from 20 years ago. We will remember. Now Moleth understood what those words had meant. And for the first time in his long life, he felt something his species had not felt in millennia. Fear. 3 years after the return, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The human empire now controlled over 100 systems. But unlike the Covenant, humans did not rule through fear. They ruled through something the galaxy had forgotten: hope. General Yunji Han stood on the surface of Voth Prime, a world that had been a Covenant labor camp for 800 years. The native Vothians were small creatures, barely reaching her waist, with blue skin and large dark eyes. They had been forced to mine precious metals for the Covenant. Those who refused were killed. Those who grew too weak were left to die. Now they were free. A crowd of Vothians had gathered to watch the human soldiers. They were afraid at first. For generations, soldiers had meant pain and death. But these soldiers were different. They smiled. They offered food. They did not hit anyone. Yunji walked to the front of the crowd. She had learned the Vothian language during the voyage here. It was important to speak to people in their own words. "I am General Yunji Han," she said. "I command the human forces on this world. I want you to understand something very important. We are not here to replace your old masters. We are here to end the idea of masters forever." A young Vothian stepped forward. He was thin and scarred, but his eyes held a spark of courage. "How do we know you speak truth?" he asked. "The Covenant made promises too. They broke them all," Yunji nodded. She had expected this question. "You do not know," she admitted. "Words mean nothing without action. So watch what we do. We will rebuild your hospitals. We will open schools for your children. We will help you grow food so you never starve again." She paused. "And if we break our promises, you will have the right to send us away. Real freedom means the freedom to choose your own future." The young Vothian stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something that surprised everyone, including himself. He smiled. On the other side of the galaxy, Chancellor Yuna Choi was meeting with the Rithani Confederation. The Rithani were an old species, nearly as old as the Covenant founders. They had stayed neutral for millennia, watching the galaxy burn without taking sides. Yuna sat across from High Speaker Bethan, a tall being with silver scales and wise old eyes. "Your expansion concerns us," Bethan said. You move fast. You fight hard. Some say you will be worse than the Covenant. Yuna poured herself a cup of tea. Her movements were calm and unhurried. Do you believe that? She asked. I do not know what to believe. Humans are strange. You were nothing 40 years ago. Now you shake the foundations of the galaxy. Yuna sipped her tea. The Covenant called us children. They said we were too young, too aggressive, too dangerous. They exiled us to keep us small. She set down her cup. They were right about one thing. We are aggressive. But we channel that aggression differently than they do. How so? The Covenant conquered to control. They wanted power over others. We conquer to free. We want power for others. Yuna leaned forward. Join us, and your people will have access to our technology, our trade routes, our protection. You will have a voice in our council. You will be partners, not subjects. Bethan was quiet for a long time. And if we refuse, then we will respect your choice. We will not attack you. We will not threaten you. But the war with the Covenant is coming to its end. When it does, you will have to live in the galaxy we build. It would be better to help us build it. Bethan studied her face. He had lived for 300 years. He had seen species rise and fall. He had watched the Covenant crush hope wherever it grew. But this human woman was different. She did not threaten. She did not lie. She simply offered a choice. I will speak with my people, Bethan said finally. But I think you already know what they will decide, Yuna smiled. I hope so. The galaxy needs healing. We cannot do it alone. 1 month later, the Rethani Confederation signed the Treaty of Partnership. They were the 15th major power to join the human empire. Back on Earth, the changes were visible everywhere. The old nations had united into a single government. The old armies had merged into a single force. The old divisions of race and religion and language had faded. They had not disappeared completely, but they mattered less now. When you faced the stars together, small differences became small. Director Sunwoo Beak had retired from his position. His work was done. The ships he had built were flying. The weapons he had designed were firing. The future he had planned was unfolding. He spent his days in a small house by the sea, watching the waves and thinking about the past. Sometimes young officers came to visit him. They called him the father of the fleet. He always laughed and told them he was just an engineer who got lucky. But at night, when he was alone, he would look up at the stars and whisper the names of the people who had made it possible. The scientists who had worked without sleep. The workers who had built in secret. The soldiers who had trained for battles they might never see. They had all sacrificed. They had all believed. And now their belief was becoming reality on the bridge. Of the Defiance, Admiral Jinho Park received the latest reports. The Covenant was retreating on all fronts. Their allies were abandoning them. Their economy was collapsing. Their military was broken. It was time for the final phase. He called his commanders together. Hannah Lee, now Admiral of the 2nd Fleet. Taiwu Shin, Commander of the 3rd Minji Yun, Tactical Chief for the entire Navy. Junho Kim, now a general leading ground forces. We have won every battle, Junho said. We have freed hundreds of worlds. We have built something the galaxy has never seen, an empire of the willing, not the conquered. He activated a holographic display. It showed a familiar world, crystal towers, shifting colors. The place where everything had started, Velar Prime, Junho said. The heart of the Covenant. The place where they told us we would be erased. His voice grew hard. Tomorrow we go there, not to destroy, not to conquer, to offer them the same choice we have offered everyone else. Hannah frowned. They will not accept. They are too proud. Perhaps, Junho agreed. But we must offer anyway. We are not them, Hannah. We do not destroy what we can save. We do not kill what we can convince. He looked at each of them in turn. Tomorrow we end this war. One way or another, the galaxy changes forever. Make sure your people are ready. They saluted and left to prepare their fleets. Jinho stayed behind, alone with the stars. He thought about the day he had stood in that crystal hall, humiliated and helpless. He thought about all the years of work and sacrifice that had followed. Tomorrow he would return to Velar Prime. Not as a prisoner. Not as a beggar, not as a conqueror who chose not to conquer. The human empire's armada arrived at Villar Prime, like a storm made of metal and light, 300 warships arranged in perfect formation. Behind them, 200 more from allied species, Rethani cruisers, Vothian support vessels, fighters from a dozen worlds that had joined humanity's cause. It was the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. High Arbiter Moleth watched from his tower as the sky filled with enemy ships. His compound eyes reflected hundreds of burning engines. His mandibles clicked in a rhythm that meant only one thing: despair. The Covenant defense fleet was gone, destroyed in a dozen battles across 100 systems. The mighty alliance that had ruled for 10,000 years had crumbled in 3. Their allies had fled. Their colonies had surrendered. Their people were afraid, and now the humans had come home. Moleth's advisor, a young Valorian named Kreth, entered the chamber. "High Arbiter," Kreth said. His voice was shaking. "The human admiral requests a meeting. He offers to negotiate terms." "Terms?" Moleth laughed. It was a harsh, clicking sound. "What terms can there be?" "They have won. We have lost. He says he does not wish to destroy us. He says there is another way." Moleth turned from the window. He remembered the old human admiral from 20 years ago. The quiet one. The one who had promised to remember. "Very well," Moleth said. "Arrange the meeting. Let us hear what the humans want." The meeting took place on a diplomatic station at the edge of the Velar system. Neutral ground, such as it was. Human ships surrounded the station. There was no escape. Moleth arrived with a delegation of Covenant leaders. They were the last of the High Council. The others had fled or surrendered or died. These few remained because they had nowhere else to go. Admiral Jinho Park entered the room alone. He looked older than Moleth remembered. His hair was completely white now. His face was lined with years and battles and burdens. But his eyes were the same, cold, clear, unbroken. "High Arbiter," Jinho said. He did not bow. He did not salute. He simply stood there, one old warrior facing another. "Admiral Park?" Moleth forced his voice to remain steady. "You requested this meeting. Speak your terms." Jinho walked to the center of the room. There was no table, no chairs, no ceremony. Just 2 enemies in an empty space. 20 years ago," Jinho said, "you stood in a crystal hall and told me that my species would be erased. You said no one would remember us in 100 years. You were certain of your power, certain of your victory." "We were wrong," Moleth admitted. The words tasted bitter. "We underestimated you." "Yes," Jinho nodded slowly. "You did. But that is not why I am here." He activated a holographic display. It showed the human empire's territory, a vast network of systems and species stretching across the spiral arm. It was larger than the Covenant had been at its height. "We built this in 23 years, Jinho said. "An empire of free peoples. Worlds that chose to join us, not because we forced them, but because we offered something better than what they had." Moleth stared at the display. "What do you want? Surrender? Submission? Do you wish us to kneel?" Jinho deactivated the display. He looked at Moleth for a long moment. "I want you to understand something," he said. "When you exiled us, you thought you were ending a threat. Instead, you created one. Every punishment you inflicted, we transformed into strength. Every year of isolation, we used to grow. Every death on those colony worlds, we remembered." His voice grew quieter, but somehow more powerful. "We could destroy you now. We have the weapons. We have the ships. No one would blame us. After everything you did, we would be justified." Moleth felt his legs grow weak. He had expected threats. He had expected rage. This calm certainty was worse. "But we will not," Jinho continued. "Because we are not you. We do not rule through fear. We do not destroy what can be saved." He stepped closer to Moleth. For the first time in their long conflict, they were face to face. "Here are our terms. The Covenant will dissolve. Its member species will be free to govern themselves. Those who wish to join the human empire may do so. Those who wish to remain independent may do so. There will be no punishment, no revenge, no executions. Molluth's mandibles clicked in confusion. No punishment? After everything? The punishment is this, Jinho said. You will live. You will watch as the species you oppressed flourish. You will see the galaxy heal from the wounds you inflicted. And you will know that you could have had this future too if you had not been so afraid of those who were different from you. He turned to leave, then stopped. One more thing. You will tell your people the truth. You will tell them that the evidence against Earth was fabricated. You will tell them that you exiled an innocent species because you were afraid of what they might become. His voice hardened. The truth will be your penance. Molluth wanted to argue. He wanted to refuse. But he looked at the human admiral, at the fleet waiting outside, at the ruins of everything his species had built, and he knew there was no choice. We accept your terms, he said. 3 months later, the Treaty of New Dawn was signed. The Covenant formally dissolved. 12 species that had once ruled the galaxy became 12 species among many. Some joined the human empire. Others formed their own nations. All of them were free. Chancellor Yuna Choi retired to a colony world called New Sol. It had been a barren rock when humans first arrived. Now it was covered in cities and forests and oceans that humans had created through terraforming. A world reborn, like humanity itself, she spent her final years writing. Not about politics or war, but about hope. About what people could accomplish when they worked together. About the future that waited beyond the stars. Admiral Jinho Park passed away at 84. He died in his home on Earth, surrounded by his children and grandchildren. The galaxy mourned him. Ships lowered their flags. Worlds held moments of silence. His granddaughter Soyeon was 12 years old when he died. She sat beside his bed in his final hours, holding his hand. "Grandfather," she said, "will we be okay? Without you?" Jinho smiled. It was a tired smile, but warm. "The universe is vast," he said. "Full of wonders we cannot imagine. Full of dangers we cannot predict. There will always be challenges. There will always be those who want to hold others down." He squeezed her hand gently. "But remember what we learned. When they exiled us, we built an empire. When they tried to erase us, we became unforgettable. That is who we are. That is what humans do." His voice grew softer. "Never let anyone tell you what you cannot become." He closed his eyes. A moment later he was gone. The human empire endured. It grew and changed and faced new challenges in the centuries that followed. Sometimes it stumbled. Sometimes it failed. But it never forgot the lesson of its founding. They had been exiled from a council that feared them. They had been told they would be erased. And they had responded by building something greater than their enemies could have imagined. Not through hate. Not through revenge. Through the simple belief that together they could become more than they were apart. On New Sol, Yuna's last book became required reading in schools across the empire. Its final words were carved into monuments on 1,000 worlds. We were small. They wanted us to stay small. Instead, we reached for the stars and found that we could hold them. This is what it means to be human. This is what it has always meant. We fall. We rise. We reach higher. Together, we become infinite.